The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chambers sparkled with thousands of lights as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the most important session in decades. Ambassador Lee Miho walked slowly through the entrance, his black suit looking plain and simple compared to flowing robes, metallic armor, and glowing biosuits worn by the alien delegates around him. His footsteps echoed on the polished floor as he made his way to the small platform reserved for humanity. Behind him followed Dr. Kim Nara, a quiet woman with tired eyes who had spent 3 years answering endless questions about human biology and behavior. She carried a simple tablet while the aliens around them floated data crystals and holographic displays that shifted and moved like living things. "Look at them," whispered a tall, blue-skinned Altarian to his companion. "So primitive. They still use physical devices to store information." Miho heard the comment, but kept walking. He had learned to ignore such remarks over the past 3 years. The evaluation period had been long and often humiliating, with alien scientists studying humans like insects under a microscope. They had tested human intelligence, analyzed human technology, and observed human behavior in countless situations. The Great Moderator, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell, raised his glowing appendages. The chamber fell silent immediately. "We gathered today to hear the final evaluation of the species known as humans by the Zephyrian Science Collective." High Evaluator Keth Mose rose from his position among the crystal beings. His body was made of living diamond that reflected light in rainbow patterns as he moved. When he spoke, his voice sounded like music played on glass instruments. "Honored members of the Council," Keth Mose began, "after 3 standard years of comprehensive study, we have reached our conclusion about the human species." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Humans are cognitively inferior to galactic standard intelligence levels." A wave of murmurs swept through the chamber. Some aliens nodded in agreement, while others looked surprised. Miho felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his face calm. "Our tests show that humans struggle with mathematical concepts that young children of most species master easily," Keth Mose continued. "Their brains process information slowly and inefficiently. They rely too heavily on emotion rather than logic when making decisions." Dr. Kim shifted uncomfortably beside Miho. She had designed many of the tests the humans had taken, making sure they appeared to struggle just enough to seem limited but not completely hopeless. "Furthermore," the Zephyrian continued, "human technology remains embarrassingly primitive. They still use chemical rockets for space travel. Their computers are based on crude binary systems. Their weapons fire simple projectiles. They have not even achieved faster-than-light travel independently." The insults continued for several more minutes. Keth Mose described humans as emotionally unstable, prone to violence, and incapable of advanced scientific thinking. With each criticism, more aliens in the chamber began to nod in agreement. "Most concerning of all," Keth Mose said, his crystalline form brightening, "is their tendency toward tribal warfare and their inability to unite even their own species under a single government. How can beings who fight among themselves be trusted with advanced galactic technology?" The moderator gestured for silence. "What classification do you recommend for humanity?" "The Zephyrian Science Collective recommends that humans be classified as a developing species under galactic protection. They should be restricted from accessing advanced technology, prohibited from independent space travel beyond their solar system, and supervised in all interactions with galactic civilization." The words hit the chamber like a physical blow. A developing species classification was just one step above being considered primitive animals. It would mean humans could never become full citizens of the galaxy. They would forever be treated as children who needed guidance from their betters. The moderator began the voting process. One by one, the species announced their decisions. The Altarians voted yes. The mechanical constructors voted yes. The plant-like Verdanians voted yes. The pattern continued with devastating predictability. When the count finished, 47 species had voted to classify humans as inferior. Only 3 had abstained, and none had voted against the measure. In one corner of the chamber, the mysterious Void Walkers remained completely silent, their shadowy forms revealing nothing of their thoughts. "Ambassador Lee Miho," the moderator announced, Do you wish to respond to this evaluation? Miho stood slowly and walked to the center of the chamber. All eyes turned to him as he looked around at the assembled representatives. For a moment, the only sound was a gentle humming of the chamber's energy systems. "We thank the Council for their thorough evaluation," he said simply. "We understand that this decision was not made lightly." Several aliens looked surprised by his calm response. They had expected anger, pleading, or desperate arguments. "However," Miho continued, "we would like to request a traditional appeal period allowed under galactic law." The moderator consulted his glowing display. "You have 30 standard days to present counter-evidence, should you choose to do so." "We accept," Miho said with a slight bow. As the session ended and aliens began filing out of the chamber, Dr. Kim approached Miho. "They have no idea what they just did," she whispered in Korean. Miho watched the Zephyrians gathering around Kethmos, celebrating their victory. "No," he replied quietly. "They really don't." The two humans walked out of the chamber together, leaving behind a galaxy that had just made the biggest mistake in its long history. The secure meeting room beneath Geneva was nothing like the grand crystal chambers of the Galactic Council. Plain white walls surrounded a simple metal table, where Earth's most important leaders sat in uncomfortable silence. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Ambassador Lee Miho finished his report about the Council's decision. General Park Juno drummed his fingers on the table. His gray hair and lined face showed the stress of commanding Earth's hidden military forces for the past decade. "So they think we're stupid children who need babysitters," he said with a bitter laugh. Dr. C.O. Hannah looked up from her tablet. At 28, she was the youngest person in the room, but her quantum physics work had already changed how humans understood reality itself. "They evaluated exactly what we wanted them to see," she said quietly. "Our old rockets, our basic computers, our public conflicts." Engineer Choi Dian nodded from across the table. Her calloused hand spoke of years working with advanced machinery that the aliens had never imagined humans could build. "The question is whether our hidden projects are ready for exposure." Miho activated a holographic display that rose from the center of the table. Images of sleek spacecraft, advanced weapons, and impossible technologies filled the air above them. Project Looking Glass has been successful beyond our hopes. We've been watching galactic civilization for 43 years. The first image showed a human space station that looked nothing like the crude orbital platforms the aliens had observed. This one gleamed with alien metals and hummed with energy systems based on physics the Council thought humans couldn't understand. "We've been reverse engineering their technology since first contact," Dr. Kim Nara explained. She had returned from Nexus Prime, looking exhausted but determined. "Every gift they gave us, every device they let us examine, every casual demonstration of their capabilities. We studied it all." General Park leaned forward to study an image of human soldiers wearing armor that seemed to bend light around it. "What about military applications?" "Beyond their imagination," Choi said with pride. "They think we fight with bullets and bombs. They've never seen our plasma rifles, our shield generators, or our dimensional warfare capabilities." Dr. C.O. pulled up another display showing complex mathematical equations that seemed to move and shift on their own. "Our quantum biological computers don't just match their crystal matrices. They're faster, more efficient, and completely undetectable by their scanning methods. The Zephyrians spent 3 years testing our intelligence," Dr. Kim added. "They never realized we were testing theirs at the same time." Miho smiled grimly. Every question they asked revealed their limitations. Every test they gave us showed us their blind spots. They're brilliant at perfecting existing ideas, but terrible at thinking outside established patterns. The holographic display shifted to show surveillance footage of various alien species. The images came from tiny devices that looked like space dust, but could record everything happening around major galactic installations. "We know their military strategies, their political weaknesses, their technological dependencies," General Park said. "They've been completely transparent, while we remain completely hidden." Dr. C.O. highlighted a section of alien code on her screen. "Look at this. It's from their most advanced artificial intelligence system. The programming is incredibly sophisticated, but it follows predictable logic trees. Human AI learned to think creatively because we taught it to be unpredictable. What about their numbers? Asked Dr. Kim. They have thousands of worlds and billions of ships. Numbers matter less when you can think faster than your enemy, Choi replied. Our war simulations show that human tactical flexibility gives us advantages they can't calculate. Miho stood and walked to the wall where a simple map of the galaxy hung beside charts showing alien trade routes and military positions. They made one critical error in their evaluation. They assumed that what they could see was all there was to see. So what's our response? General Park asked. We give them exactly what they asked for, Miho said. A demonstration of human capabilities. Dr. Co looked worried. If we reveal too much too quickly, they might see us as a threat and unite against us. Not if we're clever about it, Dr. Kim said. We show them just enough to prove they were wrong, but not enough to make them panic. Choi activated her own display, showing a series of unsolved problems that had puzzled galactic civilization for centuries. These challenges have stumped their best minds for generations. If we can solve them in front of the council, they'll have to admit they underestimated us. General Park finished. Miho returned to his seat. We have 30 days to prepare. Dr. Co, I need solutions to their quantum communication paradox. General Park, work out tactical scenarios that will surprise them. Choi, prepare demonstrations of our improved versions of their own technology. What about the political situation? Dr. Kim asked. Some council species might resist changing their minds even when presented with proof. Then we make it impossible for them to ignore us. Miho said firmly. We've spent decades preparing for this moment. They wanted to evaluate humanity's potential. Now, they're going to see exactly what humans can do when we stop pretending to be harmless. The meeting continued late into the night as Earth's hidden leaders planned their response. Outside, the world went about its normal business, unaware that in 30 days, humanity would either take its place among the stars or face isolation forever. The aliens had made their decision. Now it was time for humanity to show them the consequences. The council chambers looked different when Ambassador Lee Miho returned 30 days later. The same crystal dome sparkled overhead, but now the alien representatives watched him with curious eyes instead of dismissive glances. Word had spread that the humans planned something unusual for their appeal. Miho walked to the center platform, carrying only a small device that looked like a simple metal box. Behind him came Dr. Co Hannah with her tablet, General Park Juno in his dress uniform, and Engineer Choi Dean with a toolkit that seemed almost primitive compared to the floating displays around them. Honored council members, Miho began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. 30 days ago, you judged humanity based on what you observed. Today, we offer you something different. Not speeches or arguments, but solutions. The great moderator's crystalline form pulsed with interest. What kind of solutions? Problems that have challenged galactic civilization for centuries, Dr. Co said, stepping forward. Issues that your greatest minds have worked on for generations without success. A wave of surprised murmurs swept through the assembly. High Evaluator Keth Mose rose from his position among the Zephyrians, his diamond body flashing with indignation. Impossible. If our science collectives cannot solve these problems, how could primitives like humans succeed? Let's find out, Miho said calmly. The first holographic display materialized in the air above them. It showed a complex quantum equation that seemed to twist and fold on itself. Energy patterns moved through impossible geometries, while mathematical symbols shifted and changed in ways that hurt to watch. The quantum communication paradox, announced the moderator. For over 300 years, our best physicists have tried to establish stable faster-than-light communication. Every attempt fails when quantum particles refuse to maintain coherent states across vast distances. Dr. Co studied the display for several seconds, then connected her simple tablet to the Council's advanced systems. Her fingers moved across the screen with confidence as she began entering data. The problem with previous attempts is the assumption that quantum mechanics and consciousness are separate phenomena, she said while working. You've been trying to force quantum particles to behave like mechanical objects instead of treating them as responsive entities. Keth Mose made a sound like breaking glass. Quantum particles are not alive. They cannot respond to consciousness. Can't they? Dr. Co asked. She finished her calculations and pressed a final command. The holographic display changed instantly. The chaotic energy patterns suddenly organized themselves into stable formations. Quantum particles that had been randomly scattered across the galaxy began communicating in perfect harmony. The impossible became possible right before their eyes. The chamber fell silent except for the gentle humming of successful faster-than-light communication flowing between distant worlds. Alien scientists began checking their instruments, unable to believe what they were seeing. Your equations are based on biological algorithms, Dr. Co explained. Quantum particles respond to environmental pressures the same way living organisms adapt to survive. Once you stop fighting their nature and start working with it, stable communication becomes simple. Before anyone could respond, a new display appeared showing a different challenge. This one showed two massive space fleets facing each other across a dangerous gravity well. Red and blue markers indicated ship positions, while tactical data scrolled past in alien languages. The Corvani defense scenario, the moderator announced, his voice noticeably less confident than before. A tactical situation where conventional military doctrine predicts mutual destruction. No solution has ever been found. General Park stepped forward and studied the display with the calm expression of someone who had fought real battles. The alien fleets were positioned exactly as military textbooks recommended, with logical formations and predictable strategies. The problem assumes both commanders will follow standard procedures, he said after 30 seconds of observation. But humans learned long ago that appearing weak when you are strong is often better than appearing strong when you are weak. His fingers moved across the control interface, repositioning the blue fleet ships in patterns that looked completely random. Several alien military experts made sounds of dismay as he seemed to scatter his forces into vulnerable positions. "What are you doing?" demanded the constructor's general, his mechanical voice crackling with disbelief. "You've left your flanks completely exposed." "Have I?" Park asked with a slight smile. He activated the simulation. The Red Fleet moved to attack what appeared to be scattered, helpless targets. But as they advanced, the seemingly random blue positions revealed themselves as an intricate trap. Ships that looked isolated suddenly had perfect firing solutions. Formations that seemed chaotic created overlapping fields of destruction. Within minutes, the Red Fleet was completely destroyed while suffering minimal losses themselves. The tactical display showed a victory so complete that several alien observers checked their equipment to make sure it wasn't malfunctioning. "Impossible," whispered the constructor general. "That strategy violates every principle of space combat." "It violates every principle of predictable space combat," Park corrected. "The weakness in your military thinking is that you assume your enemies will behave rationally according to your definition of rational." Engineer Choi stepped forward before the aliens could fully process what they had witnessed. "We have one more demonstration," she announced, activating her simple toolkit. A section of the chamber floor opened to reveal a familiar piece of technology. It was a Zephyrian crystal matrix computer, one of their most advanced devices. The crystalline structure pulsed with inner light as data flowed through its transparent pathways. "We've been using improved versions of your computers for 18 months, Choi said casually. Kethmo shot upright, his entire body blazing with shock light. "Impossible. Our technology is genetically locked to Zephyrian neural patterns." "It was," Choi agreed. She opened her toolkit and began connecting simple-looking human devices to the alien computer. "Your encryption assumed only crystalline consciousness could interface with crystal matrices. You never considered adaptive biosynthetic interfaces." As she worked, the crystal computer's performance indicators began climbing rapidly. Processing speed increased by hundreds of percentage points. Error rates dropped to nearly zero. Energy efficiency improved so dramatically that the device began running cooler despite working much harder. "For 100% improvement in overall performance," Choi announced. "Plus, we eliminated the thermal cascade failures that destroy your older systems." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices as species representatives realized the implications. The humans hadn't just matched galactic technology. They had improved it beyond anything the original creators thought possible. The demonstration was over, but its impact was just beginning. The silence in the council chambers stretched for long minutes after the demonstrations ended. Alien representatives stared at their instruments, checking and rechecking readings that should have been impossible. The humans stood calmly in the center of the chamber, waiting for the reality of what they had accomplished to sink in. High Evaluator Kethmos was the first to break the silence, his crystalline voice cracking like breaking glass. The technology improvements you showed us. How long have you possessed this knowledge? Engineer Choi Dian smiled politely. We've been working with enhanced versions of galactic technology for about 2 years now. Your crystal computers were actually the easiest to improve. Easiest. The word came out as a horrified whisper. Dr. Kim Nara stepped forward, activating a holographic display from her simple tablet. We should probably mention something else. Your recent breakthrough in stellar cartography, the one your scientists celebrated 6 months ago. The display showed detailed star maps with navigation routes marked in glowing lines. Every alien in the chamber recognized a breakthrough that had revolutionized galactic travel by reducing journey times by 30%. Those are human astronomical models, Dr. Kim continued. We developed them 8 years ago. The Kalari traders picked them up during a routine technology exchange and introduced them to galactic markets. They had no idea where the concept originally came from. A Kalari representative in the upper galleries made a choking sound. Around the chamber, other species began frantically checking their recent innovations on personal devices. The improved shield harmonics that the Altarians patented last year, Dr. Seo Hanna added helpfully, based on human electromagnetic theory from 2387. The biomedical advances the Verdanians claimed as their greatest achievement, we call that basic field medicine. The great moderator's energy form flickered with what might have been distress. How many of our recent advances are based on human knowledge? About 40% of major galactic innovations in the past 5 years. Miho said matter-of-factly, we've been seeding the galactic marketplace with concepts through intermediary traders. We wanted to see how quickly your civilizations could adapt and improve human ideas. You've been testing us, the moderator said, his voice barely audible. For the past decade, yes, General Park confirmed. Every time we shared technology, every cultural exchange, every diplomatic meeting, we needed to understand your capabilities, your limitations, and your potential threat levels. The admission sent shockwaves through the assembly. Species that had considered themselves superior to humans suddenly realized they had been unknowing subjects of human evaluation. A mechanical voice rang out from the constructor section. You have been observing our military installations. Extensively, Park replied without hesitation. Your defense strategies follow predictable patterns. Your fleet movements can be calculated weeks in advance. Your command structures have critical vulnerabilities that you've never addressed. Dr. Seo pulled up another display showing alien ship designs. Your vessels are impressive, but they're built for fighting enemies who think like you do. Human tactical doctrine assumes opponents who adapt and evolve during combat. This is intolerable, Kethmos declared, his crystalline form blazing with indignation. You have been deceiving the entire galaxy. We've been careful, Miho corrected. There's a difference. When a species achieves interstellar travel, they don't immediately announce themselves to potentially hostile civilizations. They watch, they learn, and they prepare. Choi activated her toolkit again, this time connecting it to the chamber's central computing system. Streams of data began flowing across every display in the room. This might interest you. We've identified 17 major technological bottlenecks that have limited galactic progress for centuries. The data showed problem after problem that had puzzled alien scientists for generations. Energy storage limitations, faster-than-light communication barriers, artificial intelligence creativity gaps, materials science dead ends. We have preliminary solutions for all of them, Dr. Kim said quietly. The chamber erupted in voices as species representatives began arguing among themselves. Some demanded immediate access to human knowledge. Others called for restrictions on human activities. A few suggested that humanity posed a threat that needed to be contained. The great moderator raised his appendages for silence, but it took several minutes for the chaos to die down. Ambassador Mio, He said finally, "What do you want from us?" "Want?" Miho looked genuinely surprised by the question. "We don't want anything from you." "Then why reveal all of this now? Why show us your capabilities?" "Because you made a decision about humanity's place in galactic civilization," General Park answered. "We felt you should have accurate information before that decision becomes permanent." Dr. Seo highlighted sections of the technological data still flowing across the displays. "These solutions we found, they require cooperation between species with different ways of thinking. Zephyrian mathematical precision combined with human creative chaos. Altarian energy manipulation enhanced by human adaptive algorithms. You cannot solve galactic problems alone," Choi added. "Neither can we. The real breakthroughs come when different types of intelligence work together." Kethmo studied the data flowing past his position. Despite his wounded pride, scientific curiosity was clearly winning out over his anger. If humans possess such advanced knowledge, why hide it? "Because knowledge without wisdom is dangerous," Dr. Kim replied. "We needed to understand whether galactic civilization was ready for rapid technological advancement." "And your conclusion?" the moderator asked. Miho looked around the chamber at the assembled representatives. "That depends on what happens next." The implications hung in the air like a challenge. The species that had voted to classify humans as inferior now face a choice. They could admit their mistake and embrace cooperation, or they could double down on their original decision and face the consequences. Either way, the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted forever. The emergency council session had lasted through 2 full-day cycles. Representatives who had arrived confident in their superiority now spoke in hushed voices, their earlier arrogance replaced by uncertainty. The humans sat quietly at their small platform, waiting patiently as the galaxy's most powerful beings struggled to understand their new reality. The great moderator finally called for order, his crystalline form dimmer than usual. "After extensive deliberation, the Galactic Council has reached a decision." His voice carried across the silent chamber. "We hereby reverse our previous classification of humanity." A wave of relief swept through some sections, while others maintained tense silence. "Furthermore," the moderator continued, "we extend an invitation for humanity to join the Council's inner circle as a permanent member with full voting rights and access to all restricted technologies." Ambassador Lee Miho stood slowly and walked to the center of the chamber. Every alien I followed his movement as he considered the offer that species had waited centuries to receive. "We are honored by your invitation," he said clearly. "However, we must respectfully decline." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. No species had ever refused a seat in the inner circle. The offer represented the highest honor galactic civilization could bestow. High Evaluator Kethmos rose from his position, his crystalline body flickering with confusion. "You refuse membership in the Council's most elite body? Why?" "Because the system you're offering us is the same system that led to your evaluation error," Miho replied calmly. "A hierarchy where some species rule over others, where advancement comes through approval from above." Dr. Seo Hannah activated her tablet, displaying a new organizational chart that spread across the chamber's holographic systems. "We propose something different. The Galactic Partnership Initiative." The display showed a network structure instead of a pyramid. Species connected to each other as equals, sharing resources and knowledge freely without central authority controlling access. Equal cooperation between sovereign civilizations, General Park explained. Shared research programs where each species contributes their unique strengths. Open technology exchange without restrictions or classifications. Engineer Choi Dean highlighted specific examples on the display. "The 17 technological problems we mentioned, our analysis shows they can all be solved through combined approaches. Zephyrian precision with human creativity. Constructor engineering with Verdanian biological insights. Altarian energy control with Kalari navigation expertise." The moderator studied the proposal with obvious interest, but his tone remained cautious. This will require fundamental changes to how galactic civilization operates. "Yes, it would," Dr. Kim Nara agreed. "The current system assumes some species are naturally superior to others. Our observations suggest that's not true. Every civilization has unique advantages that could benefit everyone. A new voice spoke from the shadowy corner, where the mysterious Void Walkers maintain their eternal silence. The young species speaks wisdom, their whispered words somehow carried clearly throughout the chamber. Hierarchy breeds stagnation. Partnership breeds growth. The unexpected support from the galaxy's oldest known species sent ripples of surprise through the assembly. The Void Walkers rarely spoke, and when they did, their words carried enormous weight. Keth Mose examined the partnership proposal more carefully, his scientific curiosity overriding his wounded pride. These technological solutions you've developed, you would share them freely. Within the partnership framework, yes, Choi confirmed, but not as gifts from superior to inferior, as contributions from equals working toward common goals. A constructor representative activated his communication systems, consulting with his collective consciousness. Our analysis indicates this model could accelerate technological progress by several centuries. It could also destabilize existing power structures, warned an Altarian diplomat. Maybe that's exactly what we need, said a voice from the Verdanian section. Our current structures produce the evaluation failure we witness today. The debate continued for hours as species representatives weighed the implications. Some embraced the partnership concept immediately. Others expressed concerns about losing their privileged positions. A few remained openly hostile to any change. Finally, the moderator called for preliminary votes of interest. All species willing to explore the partnership initiative, indicate your position. Lights began appearing throughout the chamber as civilizations signaled their support. The Void Walkers were first, followed quickly by the Constructors and Verdanians. More species joined as the momentum built. When the count finished, over 60% of galactic civilization had expressed willingness to try humanity's new approach. What about those who refuse? Asked a concerned Kalari representative. They remain free to continue under the current system. Miho answered diplomatically. The partnership initiative doesn't require universal participation to succeed. Dr. Seo added helpful clarification. Those species outside the partnership may find themselves falling behind technologically as collaborative advantages compound over time. 3 days later, the first human diplomatic ships departed Nexus Prime, carrying teams to establish partnership agreements across participating worlds. The vessels looked nothing like the primitive rockets the aliens had expected. Sleek and advanced, they moved through space using technologies that combine human innovation with improved alien designs. In the observation deck of the flagship Soul's Pride, Ambassador Miho watched the stars streak pass through windows that offered impossible views of folded space-time. Think they learned their lesson? Dr. Kim asked, joining him at the viewing port. Some did. Miho replied thoughtfully. The Zephyrians are already requesting joint research projects. The constructors want to share manufacturing techniques. Even some species that voted against us are sending quiet inquiries. And the others? They'll learn eventually. Change is never easy, especially when it challenges fundamental assumptions about superiority and hierarchy. Behind them, the stars beckon with infinite possibilities. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force or intimidation. Instead, they had offered something far more powerful, a chance for every species to reach their full potential through cooperation rather than competition. The galaxy would never be the same.